Hello, good evening, and welcome to International Flavor. My name is Samuel Trapp. I heard something. Jr. was calling me something new. What was that? Samuel Edward Von Trapp, the first, I think I was, and SEVT 2. I don't remember. Um, but there you go. However it went, I think I now have a new a new name from the old JR monster. So there you have it. I'm excited to be here. I listened to a lot of the content over the last 24 hours, and I personally, for another time, want to congratulate the old J.R. Hartenstein monster for creating this platform. There's some very good work going on here, and I am glad to be a part of it. I wanted to let you know that I am currently doing my first experiment. It is Thursday, the 23rd of January in this year of our Lord 2025. And I am dual broadcasting, meaning I am on Damn Radio even now, and I am also on streaming. I've been working on my platform because my Russian version platform, I've got 15,000 subscribers. It's kind of stagnated over the last month or so. I haven't done a whole lot on it and haven't gotten a lot of new listeners from that end. And so far, I haven't done a lot to build the station on the video side, International Flavor English, on my YouTube channel. But it is broadcasting on my LinkedIn stream and broadcasting right now on my International Flavor stream on video in my new little International Flavor Международный Вкус studio. And I would appreciate it if you like it, listen to it, go forward from either place. You can put commentary on there, and you can join in the program should you so desire. And I hope you do desire. I listened to, and I put the code for how to join. It's running across the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to be a video participant, I'm actually not sure whether the sound will come through if you do. I think it will, but I'm not positive because I think I fixed the sound. We'll see when we have any clips to play, because the clips that I play on Damn Radio allegedly will come through here, and I on the video stream as well. And I want to make sure that that is the case. And if you wish to call in, number is 573-746-8020. I'd be perfectly happy to take your calls. I also take your commentary on, and I generally read them off as they come across on the ticker when I'm doing it in Russian. I read the commentary that Russian people put up on my channel and speak about, whatever it is they're putting up, because it consolidates all the commentary into the one platform that I use to stream to them all. Haven't figured out how to do that on Damn Radio yet, but it is in the works. JR contacted me earlier today, as he was saying in his show, some about the old Trumpster and the World Economic Forum, which takes place every year in Davos, Switzerland. Zelensky spoke there a couple of days ago, if I recall, and there's been some discussion about all that. He kind of ripped up on, Zelensky did anyway, ripped up on the West for, not giving him more money. And I went ahead and quickly scanned the content of the old Trumpster's speech. And the speech was, pretty basic. Basically, America's great, I'm great, and here's what you need to know. And he basically told all the things he did and all the crap he was going to do, who he was going to take out. And then he got into questions, and they did seem to be a little bit cherry picked. The questions did just a little, but it was still worth the listen. And I'm glad that JR is going to do that. I'm going to be keeping track of the timer here so that I can make sure to put the show on at the right time. It's 44 minutes and 30 seconds or something like that is what it is. And so I want to make sure that we get all of that content for you so that you can see it the way it was intended. I think I told you this the other day. Had a discussion with a Russian gentleman, and he's created a new channel for us both, and we're going to get on that channel. I have to find a little bit of time for him. I have quite a few projects of my own going on, and trying to, I don't know what, juggle all of that has been a little bit on the difficult side for me to make sure that everything gets taken care of the way I intend it to, or the way that I wish it to. So, but there I have yet another channel coming up, and it's basically called A Different Opinion, and we're going to speak in Russian and in English and take care of it. But what I've done, spent the morning doing, is talking with some web content people who happen to be, I think they're actually from Ukraine. Not positive of that, but I think they're Ukrainian. And I know one of them is from Ukraine, but there were two of them. And Ukraine is well known for, taking care of, building web pages cheaper than everybody else. You pay for somebody to do that for you. In New York or anywhere in the United States, you're going to pay some serious money. Well, there's some much cheaper ways to get that done, especially if you speak Russian, and you can do it through some Ukrainians, and that happen to still be in Ukraine. And it's kind of funny because they're pretty young men, and you wonder how they get away with, not being mobilized to go to war. And Donald Trump did say a few things in Davos. There are some people dying, and I've watched some horrific videos. There was one I watched yesterday, and kind of forced myself to do it, that the Russians accused the Ukrainians and showed the bodies to prove it. You know what? I think you might be able to see this one. This one, I watched it in Russian, but there's a guy doing it in English over there. And if you get a chance to watch guy named, and maybe I'll play one for you on him so you know who he is. And maybe you've come across him on the internet. I actually sponsor his channel, nothing major, I have $5 a month or something that I throw his way to keep his channel going, because I think he's doing something fairly valuable. He speaks Russian and he speaks English. His name is Patrick Lancaster. And if you can go out to YouTube, he also has a Telegram channel, but he showed it yesterday as well. These Russian guys in Kursk, and Kursk is being pushed back. All the Ukrainians are being pushed back right now. They're trying to do it before Trump gets any wilder in his accusations. Russians are trying to kick them the crap out, kick the Ukrainians out of the Kursk region of Russia, to kick them out of their new Russian territories. At least they claim they are. And those territories are Zaporizhia, they're Donetsk, Lugansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, and so those four areas. The Crimea, give up. That's already long gone. Technically, I suppose there's 5, but they took the Crimea, or the Crimea. Better to say it this way: the Crimea had their own referendum and voted for Russia back in 2014, and that's what should have happened at the time. Something similar, because the referenda were also done on the other side for these other 4 territories of Ukraine that are historically Russian are predominantly percentages of 70% or something. Anyway, I didn't intend to get started with that today, but I kind of got sidetracked by talking about the Ukrainian guys I was talking to this morning that are going to be working on my website, which the website is called internationalflavor.com. Very alarmed that it was even available. Makes me think that the name of my program is probably foolish, but I guess not. But internationalflavor.com was out there. I paid $12 for the domain name. I couldn't believe it was there, to be completely honest. And so I bought it for a couple of years. You know, you got to renew it all the time. Make sure it's on auto renew. And that is where I'm going to put all of the content and have a little mini blog. So things are developing. I listened to Ike Van Skelton. We'll call him Ike Van Skelton. And no, I always like listening to Ike. He was my neighbor for a brief period, and I enjoyed talking to him. I think he's a good and decent and very smart man, and he knows stuff, and he's not afraid to get stuff done. I listened to his story. Now, this morning, I had only listened to, I was delayed last night. That's why I had to do a recorded program last night. And I was delayed doing something else. And so I didn't get the Ike show until later on in the show. And so I missed the whole first hour. And then today I went back and listened to the first hour. And I tell you what, those issues that he's talking about in these cameras that they are displaying or putting around, I fought those forever. Now, those of you who know my history know that probably no damn lawyer will get on and talk to me, you know, because they don't want to be soiled by speaking to me, you know, and I think that's BS, frankly. But I started my story on a lot of the topics that we discuss on this show a long time ago, and I think that it would be nice to talk about such things with other people, but whether that ever occurs or not, I don't know. I would like to talk to somebody about what really goes on in the legal sphere. And listening to Ike and his story about the highway patrol showing up at his house over these damn cameras, I'm not sure that and if you didn't listen to it, you should be able to. I know that it's recorded for us, and I don't mean to tell people that it's there, but I know they are recorded, and I can go back and get them and listen to them. And I do plan on doing that with all my international flavor shows. I'm going to put them out on my website daily as they come up, but I'm also doing them in English on my international flavor channel. And so it's listening to Ike. I think that Ike, when the cops came, I'm not telling Ike what to do. I'm not saying what he did was wrong. I'm saying that it depends on how confrontational you wish to be, because I might have done something just a tiny bit different. But I'm an a-hole when it comes to that kind of thing. When I got arrested for my DWI in Lake Ozark, Missouri, by the corrupt and bad police officer, whatever the hell his name was, the highway patrol immediately showed up. Now, when I talked way back when, don't go thinking that the highway patrol yahoos aren't corrupt too. When I died, and those of you who don't know that story, but when I died, I flipped a 50th anniversary Corvette on HH, middle of the night, and no, I was not drunk, but I flipped it. I was with some people that did not wish to be identified that entire evening, and I've never given up that information. I've never revealed who I was meeting with and who I was talking with, because they asked me not to. and I didn't. But on the way back, I wasn't. I don't know. I like speed, or I liked speed. I don't anymore. Now I don't speed at all. But I woke up 10 days later in a coma. Well, in my pocket at that time was at least $4,800 in cash. Some client paid me and Curtis Hanrahan, my partner, $10,000 in cash. It was our practice to split that money, the cash, and decide what you want to do with it, whether you needed to go on a trip that weekend or what you were. And I hadn't decided yet. The money was still in my pocket. And when I woke up from in the hospital after 10 days in a coma, the money was no longer there, and it wasn't given to my family. And the highway patrol were the only ones allegedly on the scene. And when I had my radio program years ago and said something similar to this, one of them called in and said, "Oh, geez, when we pulled up, there were $100 bills flying in the air." Well, if you saw a $100 bill, Mr. Highway Patrolman, you would have gone and picked it all up. And then they heard me keep on talking about it. And one of them called up and he said to me, one of the supervisors in that region, he calls me up and he goes, "Well, Sam, there was trace amounts of alcohol in your system, and we know that. And you keep talking about it. We could arrest you for DWI." That was immediately after the broadcast that I talked about. It was not too long after the accident. It was 06, I believe it was, when the accident took place, and I started doing this in 07 with JR. And I think it was 07, but either way, early 08, and those guys wanting to talk about it. We could charge you. You keep saying stuff like that. And I got a direct call from them saying, "You sure you want to push that?" And I also said, called and said something to the highway patrol personally. And when it happened, when I asked my son, "Where's all my money?" I called the highway patrol headquarters in Jefferson City and asked them what I could do about it. And I got a call back from an investigator for the highway patrol then, and he said, same thing, something similar. You want us to be investigating you for that? You might want to let that go. Well, they know that when people are dead on the road, they rifle through their pockets. And I'm not saying they all do, but I know it happened to me. And so and you've heard about it happening to other people. So perhaps a different approach to these cameras, which I listened to them and I was very interested, because years ago in the city of Columbia, they started putting up those traffic camera, the camera, same thing, but the ones that they're alleging now all over the state for these private organizations. These private organizations are using the information. They're selling the information. And they're selling it to who, or allowing access to who? They're allowing access to the repo guy to go see whether a car has driven past with a repo. Those guys are paying for that privilege. And so they have to pay for a membership. You say you pay them, and they get paid for access or for alert when a car in their area passes through. That is sold to them, that information. Now, if you wanted to put those things up, I suppose that's okay. They're also can be used for the purposes, perhaps, of traffic investigation and traffic safety. That's what they're trying to pump up your behind. But the biggest one that they use for, especially in Columbia, they wanted to generate revenue for the city. Now, I don't know if that's what the ones are being used for in Camden County. I haven't really researched it. The only thing I know is that that's what Ike was talking about last night. It was pretty interesting. I think that the freedom of to move about the country in a manner that you wish to move about the country shouldn't be impinged upon by other people putting up a traffic camera to stop you, or to track you, or to know where you are. Now, they're all over Florida too, But Florida, they're doing it to pay the tolls because you have tolls everywhere. Now they're doing it for other reasons too. Here they sell that crap to the repo companies and anybody else that's interested too. Private investigators have a way to get in there if they're hunting down, an ex-husband or something who never paid his child support, or there are any number of valuable tools to be sold. As long as you're not using it to track criminals and giving that stuff freely to the state of Missouri, well, unless the state of Missouri is paying for it, I suppose it's a business that ought to be there. But I found it interesting to talk about those sorts of things because I fought the traffic camera for a good long time. Okay. I'm also a huge, and Ike in his show also talked a little bit about the dash cam for the officer and the dash cam or the body cam on the in the buttonhole, or the body cam on the officer's person that is there. Well, there are two standards that apply to those, maybe more these days. And I don't practice law anymore. I don't even pretend to do so on TV or my own little radio show. I just but that doesn't mean I suddenly became a babbling idiot. Arguably, you could argue that I was a babbling idiot before, and so but I still have a Juris Doctorate, and so I'm gonna tell you what I think. But don't take it as a practicing law, because the state of Missouri is corrupt, and they figured out a way to leech me of my license without a way to ever get it back, unless I bow down and kiss their asses, and I won't do that. And any lawyer who doesn't know that story should go to the Supreme Court website and read the case of Samuel Trapp versus John Gunn et al. On petition for writ of certiorari to the United States Court of Appeals for the 8th Circuit. Petition for writ of certiorari. Case number, I don't remember. It's not on the book. They didn't assign it, but there's a case number somewhere. But look for Samuel Trapp, U.S. Supreme Court. Read the brief or call me. I'll send you a copy because I got it. Now, the Supreme Court didn't look at it either. They only choose things that are politically expedient to them, and it isn't politically expedient to talk poorly about the legal system. But the legal system is what's the worst. You can talk about corruption in the dominance of people who stay in office forever. You can talk about the deep state, the people that stay unelected and run agencies forever. But guess who never questions anything? Nobody ever questions the structure of the legal field and the courts. So there are corrupt people there too. Plenty of them, okay? And there are plenty of them. And they target people too. And I was exactly the type of person that they wished to target. One, I never shut up. Two, you can't force me to do so. And three, I don't give a shit what the consequences are. And so I've made that pretty clear, although I was unaware that when they weren't attempting to disbar me and all I was going to be was suspended for a year, wasn't aware that they would later do something completely unconstitutional to me and use it as a basis to exclude me from the practice of law. And so lawyers who don't know that story should find it out, and I'd be happy to talk to anybody about it, because we've become the model for many. Like Missouri is always full of these BS models, like the nonpartisan court plan. What a joke that is, folks. And if you don't know what it is, read it. And the Office of Chief Disciplinary Counsel, a joke. They go only against people that they choose to not like, just like any bureaucracy. They attack, they target. And I was wandering around with a huge target on my back and just didn't realize it because, unfortunately, I believed that the law might apply. I believed that there might be some protections for me and for my license. There aren't. And so, not for lawyers, there are if you're a real estate agent. And it's pretty funny because to be a real estate broker in Missouri, as which I still am technically, you have to have a reputation for good moral standing in the community and fair dealing and all of those other things. You have to be a good person. You have to pass a background check. The standards are quite similar. But as a lawyer, no, no, you don't have to worry about that. Wouldn't the state be stopped from saying that I'm they couldn't claim that I'm a bad person if you give me a license to be a broker, which requires me to be a good person. So the state says I'm a good person on the one hand, but the state says on the other hand that I'm not a good person and not worthy of carrying a license to be an attorney. Curious. Does that mean I can't be to an elected office? Curious. All of this is very curious, and the Supreme Court of the United States has no interest in looking at those kind of things, and they don't. They just do not wish to get involved. So, and who can blame them? States' rights, as far as that goes, and the Rooker-Feldman doctrine has nothing to do with the practice of law, apparently. Although either the case, one of the namesakes in that case was specifically about the practice of law. So very interesting stuff. Anyway, I seem to have strayed somewhat from my original brief, as I always do. There were some topics I wish to get to on the what do you call it, on the international side, and I am going to do that even now, once I can get my damn computer to comply with what I wish to do. I will do exactly that. Let's see. There were some interesting articles. I did hear a few really good ones on RT News. So now remember, they all have their own angles and their own shows, just like we have Voice of America. They have RT News, and one of them was there's something quite new that they just put out. That if you heard the Trump announcement in front of the World Economic Forum today, what he said was that he'd be willing to talk to Putin. He said that he and Putin both had ideas of reducing nuclear stockpiles. Now, any of you who know me well enough know that I worked on those treaties as a Russian diplomatic interpreter, Russian-speaking diplomatic interpreter for the State Department and the United States Army through an agency called the On-Site Inspection Agency, now called, I believe, the Nuclear Threat Reduction Agency. But way back when, the nuclear threat has gotten larger over the time because we suck as far as global policy. We just suck at what we're putting together, and that is unfortunate and a mistake. But that's the way things are. So, however, one of the stories that was written today is Putin supports the idea of reducing nuclear stockpiles, according to Trump. Moscow and Washington held talks in 2019, the possibility of limiting nuclear arms, according to the U.S. president. Well, that seems a little odd to me because that's also the year that Trump backed out of the INF Treaty. Now, they blamed it on Russia, if you remember, and said they wanted to come over and do some inspections, but they knew Russia would never allow it without getting corresponding inspection rights in the United States, but they wouldn't do that. Russia said, well, you give us the inspection rights and we'll give you inspection rights over here. And they said no. And so the U.S. used it as a pretext. Trump's a good negotiator, but this was a pretext. They canceled the INF treaty. And that, so my entire work, during the military, removing the threats of nuclear weapons, meant nothing. I mean, just a waste of time. I mean, geez, it was only, many years of my life, but that's okay. It's just a waste. We just change it. And this is why I say things like the world never quite trusts us, because we just change on a dime, yank away treaties that have been in place for 30 years. And Trump was actually in power when that happened. So I'll read the article to you. So here we go. U.S. President Donald Trump, this is after his appearance at the World Economic Forum. U.S. President Donald Trump said he hopes to hold talks with Russia and China about reducing nuclear weapon stockpiles. According to Trump, the idea of denuclearization was previously backed by Russian President Vladimir Putin. Well, of course it was. It was the INF Treaty. Trump made the remarks he didn't want us to get out of the treaty. And I think that was a big mistake. And hopefully Trump realizes that mistake now. Trump made the remarks on Thursday during an address via video link. He wasn't in Davos, Switzerland. He only linked. Recalling talks he had with Putin ahead of the 2020 election about denuclearization, Trump said, "I can tell you that President Putin wanted to do it. He and I wanted to do it. We had a good conversation with China. They would have been involved, and that would have been an unbelievable thing for the planet," he added. Trump also pointed to the expense of keeping up America's nuclear arsenal as a motivating factor behind the idea to limit how many weapons are deployed. Well, I say get rid of half the freaking military bases around the world that we don't freaking need. I want you to start with that. Tremendous amounts of money are being spent on nuclear, and the destructive capability is something we don't even want to talk about, he said. In May 2019, Trump told reporters he and Putin had discussed a possibility of a new accord limiting nuclear arms that could eventually include China, in what would be a major deal between the world's top 3 atomic powers. That meeting was held as the New START Treaty. Now, I had done some studying on START 1 and START 2 before that came up, but I never participated in START 1 or 2, only INF and Nuclear Threshold Test Ban Treaty. The only arms control pact between Moscow and Washington that required them to cut their deployed strategic nuclear warheads to the lowest level in decades was about to expire in 2021. The treaty was extended for 5 years, now expires in 2026. However, Russia formally suspended its participation in the treaty in 2023 due to Washington's military support for Ukraine. Moscow then said it would continue to abide by the limits set out in the treaty. Since then, the Kremlin has warned that a continued U.S. military buildup near its borders and the deployment of nuclear-capable missiles globally would trigger a proportional response. Moscow has the world's largest nuclear arsenal, though Russian officials, including Putin, have repeatedly stated that they consider the use of such weapons to be a last resort. And they've constantly point out, this is not part of the article, but the Russians constantly point out, as does Putin, as does Lavrov, that the only people to ever use a nuclear weapon in history are the Americans. We bombed in Japan. That was us. And people do like to point that out. And he said, of course, it's only a last resort to us because nobody wins a nuclear war. Last year, Russia announced updates to its nuclear doctrine after the U.S. and several Western nations allowed Ukraine to use foreign-made long-range weapons for strikes deep into Russia. The revised doctrine now states that aggression by a non-nuclear state or by a group of states supported by a nuclear state could be viewed as a joint attack on Russia. So these long-range attacks by Ukraine into Russian territories, including Kazan, including other place in Tatarstan. I heard they even attacked on Vladikavkaz, which is over by Georgia, all the way over there. So Ukraine is using drones and using bombs to get as deep into Russia as they can. I don't know how many kilometers away Vladikavkaz is, but it's a long freaking way. It's all the way over by the country of Georgia. And so Trump repeatedly stated in his appearance before the World Economic Forum that this war needs to end, and that he's wants a path to peace. And, I hope he sticks with it. I really do. And I hope it comes up. Now, there were some comments below. Trump tries again. Here's a comment from Yevgeny. He's not a politician, but a traitor. The U.S. must start reducing nuclear stockpiles itself before asking Russia to do so. Here's one from a guy. Again and again, poor Trump can't stop talking about Putin. Here's another one. After the way the U.S. broke the agreement and got rid of nothing, while the U.S. paid for Russia to get rid of theirs, no way. U.S. needs to start with the first 1,000, which has to be verified. So this guy's talking about the verification under the INF treaty that the U.S. wanted to verify, but allegedly the Russians were not comfortable with the way that we were verifying. And but here's another one. Russia was sucked into this scam before. They reduced theirs while the USA increased theirs. Strategic, talking about, not the tacticals. We should not forget the entire nuclear arsenal of the West is a unit, not individuals, and it is dispersed everywhere around Russia. It would be hard to defend against possible nuclear attack launched from so many directions, while the U.S. and NATO has only to look in one direction to defend itself. Now, that is true. As America, we put and Trump is trying to fix, if you want to call it that. Trump is trying to improve our lot in life because the Russians have quite a bit of power up in the Arctic. And so if he can get them to Greenland to allow a base up there, Greenland to allow the stationing of nuclear weapons that could strike Russia. Think about this. Russia's not asking Cuba to allow them to put nuclear weapons in Cuba. That's not part of the deal. But America has nuclear weapons all over the freaking globe. And so they can target Russia from anywhere is the point of that. And so I don't know. I still fail to be, I don't know what, relieved of any stress of potential nuclear problems here. I just don't quite see it as totally positive what's going on here. And the world news, almost all of it is still just everywhere about Trump. For 3 days, most news has been all about Trump and the things that he's doing and showing the passing of the army, tanks moving, and armored personnel carriers and soldiers and GP larges and GP mediums all going to the border to stop the onslaught. That is everywhere in the news. And meanwhile, the Russians are pushing hard all over Ukraine. And both sides are losing a good number of people in these advances, and that is completely unfortunate. Let's see where we are on I want to go to some of my videos that I downloaded for us to listen to, but I have to get to the YouTube channel and log in as me first. There are plenty of things going on in the world and plenty of good videos to hear about. Plus, I want to experiment and see if I can get my videos to be heard to be heard here in the studio. That'll be interesting. So while I'm while transmitting live is what I mean, because I'm also doing the live recording, and I want that. I want to experiment with that as well. And now we're going to find out if that's even possible. And hopefully it will be. Well, there's plenty. No, here's another one though. Russian forces advance on 7 key positions, and these battles will determine the fate of the conflict. I mean, they're really pushing forward in this past month. They're just really on a move here, and I want to. Oh,
top story
sorry.
tonight is about
Hold it. Yeah, here's a story about Ukraine. About the Ukraine, and I want to talk about a couple of the articles that I read that were coming up and needed to be discussed. There's a story about Ukrainian generals. Now, these are general staff leaving, and this one is from WION. It's an Indian partner, an Indian broadcaster from the country of India. China and Mexico. And Trump's not happy about this one, allegedly. And there's another story put out, and that one's a little on the long side, and I don't think we'll get there. That this is the one I wanted to play. Let's see.
Next organization just doubled
No,
in size.
hold on. That's my BRICS guy. And he gives a pretty good one, but I want to get a little bit into the video and start right here. So we'll be jumping in a little bit late there, and I want to make sure that it comes across okay to the to what is said, because I can't do the video at the same time unless I add a screen, and haven't figured out how to do that. So let us listen to what he had to say and go from there, okay?
Most populous countries. The Western media's narrative that BRICS will never amount to anything due to political differences is literally falling apart before our very eyes. BRICS now represents 35% of the world's GDP in terms of purchasing power parity, compared to the G7's 30%. And these new countries also give BRICS a majority share in many crucial world industries. The bloc now accounts for half of the world's agricultural production, leading in crops like sugarcane, maize, wheat, rice, palm oil, and potatoes. BRICS is also an energy powerhouse, boasting 5 of the top 10 oil producers. Finally, BRICS now accounts for half of the world's natural gas production, with 6 of the top 15 producers. Just as the United States is the de facto leader of the G7, China has been the leading developer of BRICS through massive investments via the Belt and Road Initiative. And this is where Western politicians fail to recognize the power of BRICS. If we take a detailed look into each new country who joined BRICS, you'll realize that each one brings a unique set of resources to the group that, when combined together, will make BRICS one of the most powerful trade alliances in the world. Let's start by examining Indonesia. Once again, the 4th most populous nation in the world, whose economy ranks 10th globally in terms of purchasing power parity. Strategically, Indonesia's location in Southeast Asia is monumental. It controls critical shipping lanes like the Strait of Malacca, one of the world's most vital choke points for global trade, and the key body of water China needs access to. In addition to its strategic and economic power, Indonesia is one of the largest global producers of nickel, a crucial resource needed for renewable energy. Across the Strait of Malacca sits Malaysia, whose economic minister proudly announced earlier this week that the country expects a surge of Chinese investment in 2025. Malaysia currently has a list of 100 Chinese companies spanning the AI, semiconductors, and biomedical sectors, aiming to invest in Malaysia in this coming year to avoid the coming Trump tariffs. And this will be the major storyline for BRICS in 2025. How does the organization work together to avoid tariffs, spur innovation, and most importantly, reduce its dependence on the West and conduct more trade amongst BRICS members? Interestingly enough, Malaysia has been one of the biggest beneficiaries of China's Belt and Road Initiative, and it's no why China wants to have this powerhouse Asian economy in the BRICS alliance. Malaysia is a key player in natural resources, boasting oil, natural gas, and tin reserves that strengthen BRICS' energy sectors. These resources diversify the bloc's energy portfolio and enhance its resilience against global energy market fluctuations. With Malaysia,
and that is the truth. The fact is that China, if you don't know what the Belt and Road Initiative is, okay, now with BRICS, on the BRICS end, okay, the fact is that America, when we give money to another country, especially a developing country, it's tied to all kinds of internal things, DEI, turning people, making sure that they get things like that, getting rid of socialist programs that we want to talk about, that they are social programs, not socialist, but those programs that take care of the people, they get rid of quite a bit of that. And it's we control where the money goes. Now, China is not doing that. People say that if you're loaning money, if China is loaning money, they're getting something in return. Well, what they're getting, there was another article that showed the paths overland, China to Europe. Europe is starting to have major Chinese investment, major Chinese trade. They are turning eastward. Meanwhile, Trump is threatening tariffs, okay, and saying, well, we're just going to tariff everybody. We're going to tariff everybody. We're going to tariff everybody. Okay, it sounds pretty good, and I hope it works, but I got my beliefs that it's probably not. You listen to his speech tonight at the World Economic Forum when I play it for you, when I start it before I head out the door. I'll get that hooked up. I hope that the station just picks up right after that. I'll log in and find out, I suppose. I guess I should have asked that question before, and I never did. But at any rate, we'll figure it out. Sorry, we're still checking some of them. But if you don't know what the Belts and Roads initiatives are, you should probably figure that out, because it might change your impression of what's going on with BRICS and what's going on with foreign investment and what is going on with trade. Okay, because I played, I think, a video of this the other day that talked about the domination of the world trade markets by international shipping from America and Europe. Well, that isn't the case anymore, because the trade amounts have gone down dramatically on those. Well, everything is going up, but the percentage has gone to a different mode. They're going overland. They're building railroads, high speed, 6 tracks all the way across, cargo, tanker, all of these things going across Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Georgia, all of these East Asian countries. And I've seen it. The growth is and my audio for a minute there. the trade routes, and this was 3,000 years ago, okay? Still going on today, but now they're building high-speed rail. Now, I rode on a train from Tashkent to worth it for you to do so. And but this is what I'm saying with BRICS going up and all of those countries working together, and this Chinese Belt and Roads Initiative is loaning money to each of those countries. They are taking their resources as well and paying for them